Ooh, boom! Hey, I'm Thundercloud here in the Seahorse Medicine Cafe at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. I think that washed away the garbage. We'll leave some rainbows after this rain. Well, let's have some rain. Let's have some fun and linguistic games on this Chillin Tuesday, the 26th of September 2023. Yeah, that's right. It's 2023 and you're listening to me, Thundercloud, here doing poetry, something like that. Yeah, so what's been happening? Oh, lots and lots and lots of stuff. We're getting ready for the Trout Festival here in Gyra this weekend. Starting on Friday night, we've got the karaoke night here, and I've been out there practicing my opera and my hip hop, everything from Ave Maria, something like that. And guess who's back? Back again. Tell your friends. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Well, yeah, Slim Shady. No, I've been practicing Eminem too. So I'm ready for the karaoke Friday night, 6 o'clock here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Come on down and have a lot of fun. It's BYO and there will be tucker available. What else? It's Trout Festival weekend, so we've got a big, massive market in the street and indoors here. We've got an embroidery display, we've got an old machinery display, we've got the old train running up and down, there's a fishing competition, as well as Saturday afternoon, there's a country music concert here Saturday night, 6 o'clock, and it's free. It's Beck White and Layla White. That is exciting, and Richard Stanley, he will be supporting them. So come along, bring your friends, bring your family. There's upstairs, downstairs, and everywhere else in between stairs where you can sit and dance and whatever. Sunday, we got the Poets Breakfast here. Sunday, the 1st of October. Yes, the beginning of trout season. It's a Poets Breakfast and youth competition. So young people, if you want to get down there and do a poem and get up there and perform, then you could win a prize. Okay, so it's simple as that. And the Poets Breakfast as well. Then after the Poets Breakfast on a Monday, yours truly, me, Thundercloud, will be doing Thundercloud's Australian Poetry Show here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame at 10:30 and 1:30 on Monday, the public holiday, the birthday. Well, so it's not really the King Charles III's birthday, it's just a holiday for his birthday. Anyway, let's begin the show by acknowledging the traditional custodians on which I broadcast from, the Banbai Kamilaroi people, to acknowledge their continuing connection to the land and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. As simple as that. Right, well, I'm always yelling out, asking for poetry books for the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame here, for the Australian Poetry Library and Archive. Well, yes, Debbie came in today. Debbie Shute was her maiden name. This was her book from Sydney SDA Seventh-day Adventist High School. And it's 100 poems, an anthology for fourth form. So fourth form is the equivalent of grade 10, so grade 10 English. Edited by F.J. Allsopp, O.W. Hunt and W.J. Mackarell. It's published by Angus and Robertson in 1970. This was the 1972 edition. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Angus and Robertson, thank you George Robertson and his mate Mr. Angus for all of the poetry Australian poetry that you put together in your publications. Because it's just kept so much of our poetry available for current and future generations. So it's really fantastic. So this is 100 poems for an anthology for fourth form. And it's not just Australian poetry, it's also some international poets. And of course, I'm not going to be reading the whole book to you tonight. I will be doing a selection, which I haven't really quite selected. I've gone through, I've picked a couple out here, but I really did want to leave it open to the night and just take the flow as we go, as you say. And but first of all, I'm going to start with one of my own that I've written here this week, because we are celebrating the beginning of the Gyra Trout Festival. And here we go, Rainbow Trout season start. Oh, rainbow trout, you jewel of the stream, your colours sparkle, your scales gleam. With the start of the season we celebrate your leaping beauty, your playful gait. The Gyra Trout Festival's here. A time to gather, a time to cheer. Anglers cast their lines with glee, hoping to catch you rainbow trout free. From the crystal waters of Laura Creek, a silver-lined rainbow shining and sleek, a symbol of nature, wild and pure, we'll catch rainbow trout with a lure. Ah! So let us raise a glass to you on this day of celebration too. May your trout season be bountiful and bright, your beauty and leaps fill us with awe and delight. Okay, well that's that. It's trout season, yeah, where we throw like big silver hooky things into like the water and like grab fish by the cheek and rip them out of the water by their cheek. Okay, trout season's here. And the first one I've got ready for you is actually called The Australian. So of course, he swings his axe in the golden morn. The blade bites clean and free. The trees must fall ere the land be ploughed, and an axeman strong as he. He drives his plough through the yellow mould, the share cuts clean and free. The soil must break ere the seed be sown, and a ploughman strong as he. He sows the seed in the furrowed field, with a tireless hand sows he. When sun and rain have wrought their will, what shall the harvest be? If trees alone his axe blade hewed, if he but ploughed the plain, and ploughed no more and sowed the wheat, 'twould be but golden grain. But more than trees he brings to earth old wrongs that bind and thrall, and from his harvest shall be made the sweetest bread of all. A young man in a young land he dreams noble dreams of youth, and foremost in the van of years he sows the seeds of truth. Roderick J. Quinn, The Australian. So yeah, very much a sort of a settler kind of a poem to begin with there. The next one I've got for you is Daybreak by Nancy Cato. The greatest show on earth, non-stop, 24 hours around the world, begins with a curtain rise of soft pink cloud and a blare of golden trumpets, the sun's rebirth. We've seen it all before. We don't even bother to get out of bed. Or if we're already up, we take heed, only to see, will it be fine today for our trip to the shore? Or the mountains, will it rain? For the school picnic, will the races go on? Or the test match be postponed? And yet, one day, if the sun should not rise, what a loud refrain of despair and horror would run, circling the whole earth, as each place found that today the golden trumpets would not sound, and the show was over. We should think of each day as our last for seeing the sun. Wow. That's really a powerful poem. Isn't that beautiful? Daybreak by Nancy Cato. You can see why I was selected for this book. Alrighty, let's pass on a few here. Okay. J.R. Rowland. Don't even know. I don't even know this poem or person. Okay, A Landscape by J.R. Rowland. On a day like this in early autumn, the crow speaks loud across the quiet valley, and the ribbed willows stand at anchor by the river, yellowing in silence. The slow cows are solemn. Sensing the hidden winter in the air, in brilliant calm, compelled by the luminous sky, the blonde, delicate landscape lies as under glass, sharp like an illusion or dream where no thunder or disruptive wind will enter, or cold cloud rise to carry away the sun. Nothing is real, but now the wise, passive lizard sleeps on warm stone and forgets the winter. No one crosses the hill. The grass burns silver up the slope. The trees confer in undertones, expecting no one. The briar's head nods, shining, and is still. For any visitation will be only a secret rabbit, and no more violent summons than a distant, petulant dog, or a sheep coughing, or a priestly cow talking to stop me getting lonely. J.R. Rowland, A Landscape. This one looks interesting too. I looked at this earlier. It's B.A. Breen, School Social. Faces budding closed by boredom through the term. See them, row on row, only soft eyes to herald the promised burgeoning bloom now. After half a day off for the hairdo, new dress and anguished care for the final image, now legs become legs and eyes take on a penciled emphasis, and girls will be young ladies for the evening. Only teachers still assume that frozen look, donned before the steamed up glass, no doubt, every school morning saying, I have my duty to. Well, even that can disappear this night with the beat of drums and guitars and the pulse of the young, shivering off dry leaves of education and opening faces to their special sun. School Social by B.A. Breen. Another one by Nancy Cato. Bulldozer 2. Trembling, the brown hare squats in his threatened form, and the lark flings singing out of the broken furrow which housed her nest. Evicted from their home, they flee the monster rumbling of tomorrow. The great treads pack the future roads down flat, as grass seeds and soils are tucked in its belly. Everything must conform. It stamps a track for the mower, the spindry washing machine, the tally, and overnight the mushrooms of hollow houses rise on scarified clay. The filled-in creeks, no room for wattle bloom and the yellow oxalis. And water will only flow when the roof leaks, or the kitchen sink is emptied, and each night the cisterns flush politely out of sight. Bulldozer 2, Nancy Kato. Well, we've got another environmentally one here by Kate Filson. I don't know anything about her either, but it's called Timber. Through the sighing bush they bore him, many men and many oxen, chains of iron all about him, he, the helmeted of sunsets. He, the challenger of tempests, north and south the wind gods knew him, east and west they called him brother. Suns had smouldered in his branches, through his dark boughs moons had flowered, whiter than a drift of lilies. Clouds had pitched their tents about him, dew had swung her crystal lanterns. From his leaves in flickering legions, he had watched dawns through the ages sweep like silver avalanches down the forests of stars. Up and down his mighty barrel once had drifted pools of amber, pools of orange, jade and purple, scattered where the shining laces of the daylight struck and splintered. He had turned the spears of lightning on a wave of silken laughter. Sleet had sped her pointed arrows. Fire had seared with swirling rapier. Storm unfurled her floods about him. But the valiant heart and dauntless of the warrior eucalyptus made all fibre of his being wrought the scars of age-long battle into strength and into beauty, with the white flame of the spirit, that intangible, unconquered challenger of tragic seeming, which defeats the day horizon, which defies the clay defining. But the little men with axes, full of little tawdry valours, stood before his giant splendour, and they hewed with little axes, and they knew not what they did, yet the little souls saluted. "Gord," they said, "he was a tough 'un," and they straightened sweating bodies as he fell among the bracken. Wow. Woo! Oh, you take on that tree and then suddenly, boom, you know what's going to happen, you know? So the start tells you in the beginning, through the sighing bush they bore him. Many men and many oxen, chains of iron all about him. He, the helmeted of sunsets, the challenger of tempests. Timber by Kate Filson, Filson. Well, here we go, another one. Well, Will Ogilvie lived in Australia for a while, about 10 or 20 years or something, went back to Scotland, but wrote about Australia. Hurrah for the storm clouds sweeping, hurrah for the driving rain. The dull earth, out of her sleeping, is wakened to life again. There are mirrors of crystal shining wherever the cloud rack breaks, and glass-clad banks are twining, a wreath for the fairy lakes. Lakes that are links in an endless chain, for the water is out in the swamps again. Hurrah for the red gum standing so high on the range above. Hurrah for the she-oaks bending so low for the wave they love. Hurrah for the reed stems slender. Hurrah for the shade they fling, for the curve of the cygnet spendlender, the sheen of a black duck's wing. Hurrah for the clouds and the glorious rain, the water is out in the swamps again. Hurrah for the laughing water, the songs that the streamlets sing. Whish, the teal duck's mate has sought her with a stroke of his mottled wing. Hurrah for the deepening shadows, the ibises eagle-eyed, the dash of the purple swallows to bury their breasts in the tide. Woe, it is woe to the drought king's reign. The water is out in the swamps again. Will H. Ogilvie, The Filling of the Swamps. Well, here we go. A camel. Well, it's actually called the Dromedary, and a dromedary is a camel, yeah? Dromedary. In dreams I see the dromedary still, as once in a gay park I saw him stand, 1,000 eyes in vulgar wonder scanned, his humps and hairy neck and gazed their fill, his lank shanks and mocked with laughter shrill. He never moved, and if his eastern land flashed in his eyes with stretches of hot sand, it wrung no mute appeal from his proud will. He blinked upon the rabble lazily, and still some trace of majesty forlorn, and a coarse grace remained. His head was high, though his gaunt flanks with a grave mange was worn. There was not any yearning in his eye, but on his lips and nostril infinite scorn. Archibald Y. Campbell, The Dromedary. Now, here we go. Rowland Robertson, another Australian poet. Lyre and Tree Fern. Mist and rain, the lyrebird singing undismayed in his mountain world of rain, leaf and vine and frond and blade. Song for sake of song and sound, on the leaves and blades of rain, stayed me where the tree fern's fronds lifted, sank and rose again. In that world of cloudy, huge forests, crowding out all room, with the tunnel of the road leading into drenching gloom. Voiceless, rooted in the earth, on the upward draughts of the air, how the tree fern, with its fronds, danced its silent ritual there. Hey, well, wasn't that beautiful? Roland Robinson, lyrebird and tree fern. Hey, while I think about it, and you're waiting for me to read the next poem, how about you, underneath there's a little thumbs up button. It helps me when you click that, because it helps my metrics, and it means other people get to see these videos because it helps it trend. And the idea is to get Australian poetry out to as many people as possible, particularly these old poems from old past poets. And instead of it just sitting in books, let's put it on a new medium, YouTube video. That's it here, and that's why I'm doing this. So if you give it a thumbs up, I could really appreciate it. And if you write in a comment down below while you're listening, even better, because it means that it helps the metrics again. Even if it's terrible, like, I don't like you, I hate you, James. Don't call me that. You can call me whatever you want. I hate you, you mongrel, even. That's great, because it helps my metrics, all right? All the haters, the lovers, say you love me, but whatever. But please, just like write a bunch of something underneath there. When you like a poem. Now, the next one. Oh, well, I do Douglas Stewart. Well, I suppose. So Douglas Stewart was an interesting character because with Nancy Keating, Keesing, Keesing, they were both poetry editors for Angus and Robertson books. And they together collected heaps and heaps and heaps of old poems and republished them in anthologies. So one of these poets that's also responsible for publishing other poets' stuff and preserving many things. Well, this is called The Mice of Chinkapook, whatever that means, and I guess it's a place. Chinkapook, notebook, Chinkapook, okay, yeah, all right. In summer, when the rain was warm, Shaw Nielsen rode around the farm, and in his mind, like some clear spring, soft words and tunes began to sing. He wrote them down in his notebook to keep them safe and feared no harm from mice at Chinkapook. He watched the bright blue dragonfly, he saw the skylark climb the sky, he saw around his pony's knees and grasshoppers sail the yellow breeze, and sometimes in a tussocky nook, like silver water hurrying by, he saw the mice of Chinkapook. The swarming mice, the hungry mice, their teeth were sharp and white and fierce. They bit their way through field and crop and ate the haystack to its top. They crept into the house and took the poet's notebook slice by slice, the nibbling mice of Chinkapook. Oh, was that strange? Oh, what was that strange taste they knew as through the notebook, chew by chew, in moonlight when the house was still, those wicked creatures ate their fill. Perhaps it burned, perhaps it shook like sunlight in a drop of dew, the lucky mice of Chinkapook. You'd think that when they'd fed enough of what that notebook tasted of, the strawberries and oranges and bluebells under honey tree and mushrooms with their elfin look, such magic as must surely move even the mice of Chinkapook. Transfigured mice they would have run like jewels in the moon or sun. It may be so, but no one hears of emerald mice with diamond ears. They can't be found by hook or crook. But did their deed and then ran on with what they stole from Chinkapook. Well, mice are small and mice must live, but when you think of all that love of brightness flashing from the dim that night on earth and water's brim, that sang for joy in that lost book, only Shaw Nielsen could forgive the thieving mice of Chinkapook. Douglas Stewart, The Mice of Chinkapook. Well, another Douglas Stewart one, why not, hey? The Brown Snake. I walked to the green gum tree because the day was hot. A snake could be anywhere, but that time I forgot. The duck malloy lazed through the valley in amber pools like tea from some old fossica's billy, and I walked under the tree. Blue summer smoked on Bindo. It lapped me warm in its waves, and when that snake hissed up under the shower of leaves, huge, high as my waist, rearing with lightning's tongue, so brown with heat like the fallen dry sticks it hid among, I thought the earth itself under the green gum tree, all in the sweet of summer, reached out to strike at me. The Brown Snake by Douglas Stewart. And the next one for you. James McAuley, The Merry-Go-Round. He's one of Douglas Stewart's contemporaries, James McAuley. In fact, he was responsible for the O'Malley affair. He was one of the poets who put together a whole lot of junk poetry and gave it into Angry Penguins magazine, and it was published by what was his name, Max Williams. Is it Max Williams? Anyway, Max Williams ended up going to jail for publishing obscene material. So, but James McAuley, The Merry-Go-Round. Bright coloured mirror plated, strung with lights, with swan-shaped cars and prancing wooden horses. The silent waiting merry-go-round invites a swarm of eager riders for its courses. It moves a painted miniature cosmos turning, with planetary music blaring loud. The riders lean intent, lips parted, faces burning. Brief smiles float out towards the watching crowd. On their brass poles the horses rise and fall. In undulant flight the children ride through dreams. How fairy bright to them, how magical this crude and gaudy mechanism seems. Almost I see that marvel that they see, and hear like them music of the spheres. They smile out of their magic world to me, the lights and colours suddenly dim with tears. But now their turning world is slowing. Horses and music stop, how brief the ride. Newcomers clamber on as these are going, reluctantly to join the crowd outside. James McAuley, Merry-Go-Round. All right, well, here we go. We've got one from Nancy Keesing now, who was, these people's contemporary as well. One of the 20th century poets. Children. Long summer, scorched. My surfing children catch random waves or thumping dumpers. Whirling, gasping, tossed, disjointed. I watching, fear they may be broken, that all those foaming limbs will never reassemble whole together. All under such a peaceful sky. All under such another sky. And the picture shows some village children caught at random, tossed, exploded, torn, disjointed, like sticks broken, whose jagged scorching limbs will never reassemble whole together. That's a powerful anti-war poem. Okay, here we go. Next one for you. What have I got? Mungo McCallum. All right. A political commentator. He was also obviously, I think that's what he was. The Dream. Floating in file across a glassy waste of sand, they came to me, arm, leg and hand. Before the watching mind they halted and arm wagged, roguish fingers giggled, said, I am Private Smith. I am from Private Smith. He isn't dead, but boxer once, he can't box now. And chuckled, so in turn came leg, slid up, spun, toppling like a peg, and sniggered. From Private Jones I beg to state he was an athlete. He's not in pain, but he doesn't know yet that he won't again. In running shoes, he cheers. He can't run now. Then, rude gesturing, came hand. See these? He crowd and fingers fanned from Private Brown as pianist. All the land knew him. What now? Left-handed tricks? Popular performer at the flicks? Why not? But only half a pianist now. And they giggling, they glided off, arm, leg and hand. And as they went, they chuckled, and their laughter grew in the sand, was willed and swirled by dark, wild, sobbing mirth at what men do to men upon this earth. And a thin cry died, how long, Lord? How? Another powerful poem. Anti-war. All right, Judith Wright. The Old Prison. The rows of cells are unroofed. A flute for the wind's mouth. Who comes with breaths of ice from the blue caves of the south? O dark and fierce day, the wind like an angry bee hunts for the black honey in the pits of the hollow sea. Waves of shadow wash the empty shell born bare, and like a bone it sings a bitter song of air. Who built and laboured here? The wind and seas say their cold nest is broken and they are blown away. They did not breed nor love, each in his cell alone cried as the wind now cries through his flute of stone. The Old Prison by Judith Wright. All right, another Judith Wright one for you. The Surfer. He thrust his joy against the weight of the sea, climbed through, slid under those long banks of foam, hawthorn hedges in spring, thorns in the face stinging. how his green-brown strength drove through the hollow and coil of green, through weirs of waters, muscle of arm thrust down long muscle of water, and swimming so went out of sight, where mortal, masterful, frail, the gulls went wheeling in the air as he in water with delight. Turn home, the sun goes down, swimmer, turn home. Last leaf of gold vanishes from the sea curve. Take the big roller's shoulder, speed and swerve. Come to the long beach home like a gull diving. For on the sand the grey wolf sea lies snarling. Cold twilight wind splits the wave's hair and shows the bones they worry in their wolf teeth. Oh, wind blows, and sea crouches on sand, fawning and mouthing, drops there and snatches again, drops and again snatches its broken toys, its whitened pebbles and shells. The Surfer by Judith Wright. The Song of the Captured Woman by James Devaney. I did not cry at all till I went down by the wide edges of the lake. I watched the wild swans rising from the lake with sweet wild cries. They went away to the south of my Mackarell River country, and I to remain here in this place. I could not follow the swans. The women here are kind to the captured woman. The lake men are straight and tall ones, but their songs are strange to me, and their ways are not my ways. The emu to the great brown plains, the swamp hen to her native reed beds, the eagle hawk to his own wide empty skies. But I am a Mackarell River woman, and my country is down by the Mackarell River, the talking Mackarell, where my own people sit down. I saw the wild black swans, wild and free, rise out of the reeds and go. Now they are there, down on the shady Mackarell River, the bends I know, and I to remain here in this place. It was then I sat down and cried, for I would be again with my own people, my own poor laughing people down by the Mackarell River, the swinging Mackarell, the voice that does not cease. James Devaney, The Song of the Captured Woman. Right, next one. I'm going to do for you, where am I going? Looking for an Australian one. I'm skipping through all the international poets here. Got to do A.D. Hope. Death of the Bird. A.D. Hope, yeah, recognised definitely as one of our greatest poets of the 20th century. Alec Derwent Hope. A Death of the Bird. For every bird, there is this last migration. Once more, the cooling year kindles her heart. With a warm passage to the summer station, love pricks the course in lights across the chart. Year after year, a speck on the map divided by a whole hemisphere summons her to come, season after season, sure and safely guided. Going away, she is also coming home. And being home, memory becomes a passion with which she feeds her brood and straws her nest, aware of ghosts that haunt the heart's possession and exiled love mourning within the breast. The sands are green with a mirage of valleys. The palm tree casts a shadow, not its own. Down the long architrave of temple or palace blows a cool air from moorland scarps and stone. And day by day, the whisper of love grows stronger. That delicate voice, more urgent with despair, custom and fear constraining her no longer, drives her at last on the waste leagues of air. A vanishing speck in those inane dominions, single and frail, uncertain of her place, alone in the bright host of her companions, lost in the blue unfriendliness of space. She feels it close now, the appointed season. The invisible thread is broken as she flies. Suddenly, without warning, without reason, the guiding spark of instinct winks and dies. Try as she will, the trackless world delivers no way. The wilderness of light, no sign. The immense and complex map of hills and rivers mocks her small wisdom with its vast design. And darkness rises from the eastern valleys, and the winds buffet her with hungry breath, and the great earth, with neither grief nor malice, receives the tiny burden of her death. A.D. Hope, Death of the Bird, a beautiful poem. And we'll get one more before we hit the frog and toad tonight and call it quits for the night. Tonight! Who am I going to do for you? Oh, no, not that one. That's Shakespeare. Well, what? Finish the night with William Shakespeare. That time of year. I have to put on a Shakespeare accent for this one. That time of year thou'st may in me behold, when yellow leaves or none or few do hang, upon those boughs which shake against the cold, bear ruined choirs where late the birds sweet sang. In me thou seest the twilight of such day, after sunset fadeth in the west, which by and by black night doth take away, death's second self that seals up all in rest. In me thou seest the glowing of such fire, that on the ashes of his youth doth lie, as on the dead bed whereon it must expire, consumed with that which it was nourished by. This thou perceivest, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well which thou must leave ere long. One of Shakespeare's sonnets, that one, The Time of Year by William Shakespeare, whoever he really was. Well, he's one by Matthew Arnold called Shakespeare. Will I finish off with that? Maybe. Shakespeare by Matthew Arnold. Others abide our question, thou art free. We ask and ask, thou smilest and art still, out-topping knowledge for the loftiest hill, that to the stars uncrowns his majesty, planting his steadfast footsteps in the sea, making the heaven of heavens his dwelling place, spares but the cloudy border of his base, to the foiled searching of mortality. And thou who didst the stars and sunbeams know, self-schooled, self-scanned, self-honoured, self-secure, didst walk on earth unguessed at better so, all pains and the immortal spirit must endure, all weakness that impairs, all griefs that bow, find their sole voice in that victorious brow. Matthew Arnold. Shakespeare by Matthew Arnold. All right, well, we are coming to the end of Chillin Tuesday on this Tuesday, the 26th of September. I haven't told you the weather in Gyra. Well, tomorrow it's going to be 21. I do know that. I don't know that for a fact, actually. I haven't really got a clue. I'm just guessing because I remember from before looking at it. It's currently 13 in Gyra here. Feels like 11. Overnight it's going to drop down to 6 degrees and tomorrow it's going to get a maximum of 23. Oh my God. It's a heat wave in September in Gyra. Yep. And then it'll be Wednesday 23, Thursday 20, a shower to Friday 24 and sunny, Saturday 25, partly cloudy, Sunday mostly sunny and 24. That's the weather here in Gyra for the weekend of the Trout Festival. It's going to be a fantastic weekend here. All right, have I got one more of my own for you to do tonight before I disappear? Hey, I'll tell you what, one of the things that's been happening, in order to support the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame here, I have been making merchandise and selling it on meanwhileInAustralia.com. So check out meanwhileInAustralia.com and also Australian Poetry Hall of Fame.com.au, and then go to our web store. And there's a whole lot of t-shirts and merchandise that you can buy to support the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Now, you can even get the Giants of Kandahar 1923 t-shirts from like the Etsy store from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame and the Meanwhile in Australia store. So check that out. Meanwhile in Australia, Giants of Kandahar. Anyway, I am gonna Giants of Kandahar you. Thunder and lightning began igniting as the Giants of Kandahar all began fighting. It all began in 1923. 23 when the Giants arrived and we had to flee. In the winter mountains of Afghanistan near Kandahar was where it all began. Hundreds of giants and giant things, dinosaurs, spiders, computers, gold rings. No one knows where they all come from and how quickly they were all gone. One giant picked to fight another giant in a fight, which triggered giants fighting all day and all night. Until the giants were gone, except for two who were in love, eloped, and off they flew, hid in a cave in the mountain not far from our Afghanistan village of Kandahar. Well, the giants went away at the end of the day, but from the mountain caves we keep away, because giants live there, 6 toes, red hair. They eat anyone who ventures near there. In 2005, a squadron or more were attacked. High in the mountains, they had to fight back, killed a giant, then took his body and hid. But one whistleblower blew the lid. There've always been giants in Kandahar. Invisibility, their best strategy by far. And if you don't believe me, this story is true. Go to Kandahar and see the giants shoot. It's true. Anyway, the Giants of Kandahar. They were discovered by, what was his name? Alan Aloysius Fosdick. Sir Alan Aloysius Fosdick. Yeah, and if you want to know about Sir Alan Aloysius Fosdick, look him up there. He's around. But he's a very, very famous explorer. He was a very, very old man when he died in 1969. Oh, goodness gracious. But he was one of the explorer that was riding the capybara through Afghanistan in 1923 when he came to the valley of Kandahar and found the valley of the giants living beside the people of Kandahar, and he got the only available photos of the Giants of Kandahar. And so, yeah, check him out. Google him, Alan Aloysius Fosdick, Sir Alan Aloysius Fosdick of the Giants of Kandahar. But you'll find information about him there on the Meanwhile in Australia website, where there's a few blog articles about him. But yeah, check out the merchandise, and that's about it for me. I'm out of here with my poetry, and tomorrow night we've got Wednesday Words here from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. We'll probably start to move out into the main forum as it warms up too, if it's really warm, and we can do it on the stage, but that doesn't matter. All right, well, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and write a comment and share it with your friends. Like, it doesn't take much to share this video, because I think like everyone could do with like learning a bit of Australian poetry, and some of the stuff that I've read out tonight has just been absolutely fantastic. All right, well, thanks for joining me on Thundercloud, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rain. Don't do what you're told, disobey every day. All right, that's all I've got to say, and I'll see you the day after today. That's tomorrow. Yeah. Fair? All right, I'm out of here. See you later, biggies. Boom!